Good morning again, everyone. So I'm tasked with giving you the history of the Black College Tour. So the church that's next door is the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Presbyterian Church. And 41 years ago, two of the members had a vision to engage young people through their youth fellowship program. And they were both graduates of St. Augustine College in North Carolina, where they met and married, and then they resettled up here. Their names are Joe and Mary Nicholson. And they decided that they would be excited to take a group of students from here to see their HBCU and begin that experience and try to get other students to consider traveling down south and perhaps going to college there. We are college rich here, but they felt that their experience being HBCU alums made them unique, and they wanted to expose young people to that experience. So that one trip culminated in this tour. So as the church grew and as young people found out about this tour, they started to join the youth fellowship group so that they could be part of the next year's tours. And so they literally took those white vans and drove kids to North Carolina. So we have really evolved from the white van trip to this big bus trip with this huge budget, and also expanding the offerings that students could get if they had the opportunity to be on a bus that could travel better than a white van. So we've taken, so now this is year 41 for us. We only missed the 1 year during the pandemic, and that was it. So I'm so excited that you all are here today as we venture back out to what I consider one of the deep South trips, which is a very different experience than kind of going on the short, kind of hitting Virginia and that's it. So we owe all of this to Joe and Mary Nicholson and their vision, and then Reverend Peters, who kept it alive because he was really engaged in young people. And all of this brought community members into the church so that they could give back to their communities as well. So just that one little act has turned into this. So I'm so excited that you're going to partake, hopefully, in year 41 with us. Thank you.
Okay, now we are going to go into our panel discussion. Today, we are fortunate to have members of our community come and talk to us about their experience at historically Black colleges and universities. You will hear perspectives from individuals from different schools, some big, some small, from different industries. At this time, I'm going to read their bios. I want to first say thank you to you all for giving up your time to pour into the lives of our young scholars. It is really, really appreciated. First, and panelists, if you can wave your hand so they know who I'm speaking of, that would be awesome. First, we have Taylor Smith. Meet Taylor Smith. She attended the illustrious North Carolina A&T State University, where she graduated in 2020 with a bachelor's degree in multimedia journalism and a minor in mass communications. During her time at A&T, Taylor was able to learn many essential skills and establish a meaningful connection in the media journalism industry. One of the main reasons Taylor chose to attend an HBCU was due to the vibrant culture and sense of community it provided. These experiences played a significant role in her personal and academic growth for years to come. Taylor is a dedicated morning news reporter and writer for Western Mass News Channel 40. Previously, she started off her media journey as an overnight producer for 22 News. Taylor has always been passionate about storytelling, staying informed on current events, and keeping people connected. Please welcome Taylor Smith. Next, we have Reverend Marcus McCullough. Reverend Marcus T. McCullough attended Morehouse College and graduated in 2007 with a Bachelor of Arts in Religion and a minor in Political Science. While attending Morehouse, Reverend Marcus joined Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, Alpha Rho chapter. Reverend Marcus is an ordained elder in the AME Church and currently serves as the pastor of Bethel AME's church here in Springfield, Mass. He earned a Master's of Divinity from Harvard University and a Master's of Sacred Theology from Boston University. Reverend Marcus is also a board-certified chaplain through the Association of Professional Chaplains and operates in this role within Bay State Medical Center's surgical trauma and intensive care units. He is an active member of Theta Iota Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha and serves as chapter and New England district chaplain for the fraternity. Reverend Marcus McCullough is a frequent HBCU panelist for us and proud of his HBCU experience as a Morehouse man. His favorite motto is, "You can always tell a Morehouse man, but you can't tell him much." Please welcome Reverend Marcus McCullough. He will be joining us. He's on his way. Then we have Kyle Anderson Sr. Meet Kyle Anderson Sr., affectionately known as Kappa Kyle. He attended Virginia State University and graduated in 1985 with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. He became a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, co-founded the Connecticut Pre-Alumni Association, and was on the football team while attending Virginia State University. He retired in June of 2023 after serving 30 years with the Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection, Liquor Control Agent, and Special Assistant to State Treasurer. Mr. Anderson currently runs a consultant business, supports event planning related to HBCU experiences, and is serving as the president of the newly chartered New England chapter of the Virginia State Alumni Association. Kappa Kyle is well known and celebrated and honored for his commitment to community. His service is too extensive and too vast to fully capture in words. Next, we have Reverend Talon E. Lancaster. Meet Reverend Lancaster. He is a proud graduate of Clark Atlanta University, where he earned a Bachelor of Arts in Religion and Philosophy. He embraced the legacy of HBCUs as a student leader and advocate. During his time at CAU, he served as freshman class council president, the inaugural Mr. Sophomore, and chapel drummer. Reverend Lancaster is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Collegiate 100 Atlanta South Metro Chapter, and now a Master of Divinity candidate at Harvard Divinity School. Reverend Lancaster continues to honor his HBCU roots by championing initiatives that bridge faith and service. Welcome, Reverend Talon E. Lancaster. Mark Anders, I don't want to butcher your first name. Okay, Marklin Anders. He is a proud graduate of the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. In 2013, he graduated summa cum laude and obtained a bachelor's degree in social work. Mark relocated to the New England area and spent 4 years serving as a middle school teacher, grade level chair, and founding high school dean of Libertas Academy Charter School. Mr. Anders has spent 3 years proudly serving as the middle school assistant principal at Bay State Academy Public Charter School in Springfield, Massachusetts. Mark is an ordained minister and proud school dad and uncle to a host of brilliant Black and brown scholars. Mr. Anders is passionate about educating, uplifting, and inspiring the next generation to realize their fullest potentials. Welcome, Mr. Anders. Next, we have Daisha Darden. Meet Daisha Darden. I promise not to be weird, but I'm gonna be a little weird. That's my baby. She is a recent graduate of Delaware State University, class of 2024, where she majored in psychology. Daisha is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, initiated at Delta Lambda chapter on the campus of Delaware State University. She is currently serving her community as a first-year, third-grade teacher at Brightwood Elementary School here in the city. Daisha was inspired to attend an HBCU through her past experience being a part of the MLKFS Junior HBCU Fair and Black College Tour prior to her graduation in 2020 from high school. Welcome, Ms. Daisha Darden. Gerson, am I pronouncing that incorrectly? Huh? Gerson? Okay, thank you. Gerson Anders, he attended North Carolina A&T and graduated in '02 with a Bachelor's of Liberal Arts. Is that the right year? 2020, the number cut off, okay. He graduated in 2020 with a Bachelor of Liberal Arts. Gerson was inspired to attend an HBCU because during high school, and I quote, "I wasn't exposed to much about these institutions or their unique offerings. It wasn't until my partner's mother, a North Carolina A&T graduate, shared her experiences that I truly began to see the potential of an HBCU education. I've always dreamed of becoming a mechanical engineer, and with North Carolina A&T being ranked as the #1 HBCU for engineering, I knew it was the perfect place to turn that dream into a reality. The sense of community in an HBCU where people look like me, think like me, and share similar aspirations, further fueled by my desire to be part of such an empowering, inspiring environment." Gerson is currently an IT support specialist. And, oh, welcome, Gerson, my bad. And last but not least, Alexandra Lyon. Meet Alexandra Lyon. She attended the Spelman University and graduated in 2016 with a double major in Spanish and International Studies. When asked why she chose Spelman, Alexandra shares, "I chose Spelman because I wanted to be in a space that celebrates my culture and provides a strong sense of community. Coming from a predominantly white school background, I felt it was important to be around like-minded women who share similar experiences and values. Spelman's legacy of excellence and empowerment was the perfect fit for me." Alexandra is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and serves as a 4th grade dual language reading and writing instructor. Welcome, Alexandra. At this time, I'm going to turn the microphone over to your moderator, Ms. Phyllis.
So I'm going to ask that you take maybe a minute or two to answer the question. And we're going to start with Mr. Mark. It is often said that the HBCU experience is, oh, excuse me, sorry, wrong question. When were you first exposed to an HBCU, and what influenced you to choose an HBCU?
So when I was a kid growing up in the 90s, one of my favorites. Can y'all hear me? Perfect. So when I was a kid growing up in the South in the 90s, one of my favorite TV shows was A Different World. Are y'all familiar with that show?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Some of y'all like, I don't know what that is. So when I was a kid, I was like, I want to go to Hillman College. But then I grew up and I got mad because I realized that Hillman was not a real school that I could attend. But nonetheless, that school, that show made me feel like black excellence could be celebrated and not just tolerated. And there were a lot of black professionals that wanted to articulate their ideas and make the world a better place. So when I was growing up in the South, I went to these schools. I was in the honors and AP classes, but I was constantly being challenged and accused of plagiarism. And I got tired of having to defend myself as a human being, as a black professional, as a black intellectual. And I wanted, again, to go somewhere where I could be celebrated, not tolerated. So I applied and went to the best school, the #1 HBCU in the world, North Carolina A&T, and I was glad I got accepted. And the rest is history.
Thank you, Mark. Ms. Taylor, can you answer the same question, please?
Hey, everybody. Okay, is this on? Okay. So I don't remember exactly what made me want to go to an HBCU, but I know that I came to MLK for their Black College Tour for the answers. So growing up, I went to Sabas International Charter School. I think it's Springfield International Charter School now. I've been there from K through 12th grade, y'all. K through 12. Same school, same kids, same everything. Very same. So when I graduated, I wanted to go as far away as possible. And I didn't have an idea. I didn't have any like real go-to plan. I just knew that, you know, I wanted to see something different. Like I've been here 12 years. It's time to branch out and see what else there has to offer. And we know that Massachusetts is, you know, doesn't really have a lot of opportunities and things going on for us to learn those things. So, you know, my mom actually somehow came across MLK and they were having their Black College Tour. And she was like, why don't you go on there? Like, these are the answers that you're looking for, especially something that you can relate to. So why don't you try it out? So I ended up going on the Black College Tour, and it opened my eyes to a whole nother life. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. I'm serious. I never seen so much culture, so many people that looked like me and you guys doing things that I wanted to do or even better. So that's pretty much what had kickstarted me into going to a HBCU, because I ended up finishing up the Black College Tour, and I was like, Mom, I didn't see all the ones I want to see. I want to see all of them. So we ended up going on a separate tour, me and my mother, and that's how I came across A&T, and I loved it the minute I stepped on the campus, and it was just history ever since.
Thank you. Alexandria, please.
Okay. So, like she said, I also did the Black College Tour, but before I went on the tour, I kind of knew, like, I heard about Spelman, and I was like, this is the school for me. Like, I knew deep down. So we went on the tour, and there was, like, some issue, and they were like, oh, we're not going to see Spelman. And Nicole was on the tour with me, and I was like, no, I have to see Spelman, like, adamant about it. So we, like, walked on the campus, and, like, someone who had gone to Spelman gave us like a short tour of the campus, and I was like, this is it. Like, I need to be here. And so it was like I applied to maybe 3 schools, and I knew in December that I was going to Spelman. I had gotten in. I was in Grand Central Station, and my brother called, and he goes, you got a big letter from Spelman. And I was like, open it now, like, just read it. And he read it to me, and I was like, this is it. I'm in. And everything was like history for me. But I love Spelman, and the Black College Tour definitely helped me to figure that out. Because if I hadn't seen it and felt that connection with the school and everything that it had to offer, I probably wouldn't have gone.
Same question.
All of the panel is going to answer this question.
Okay. So I went on the college tour and the fair. So I went to New York, and I also got to go on a trip about, I think, like 2 or 3 times. So I would say personally for myself, I got exposed earlier because my mom was already involved along with a few of my aunts. They were so deeply involved with the MLK Center to the point that when they talked about the tour or the fair or a panelist coming in, I wanted to be there because I didn't know if I wanted to go to a HBCU or a PWI, because you always have to keep your opportunities open. So I would say, being the fact that I went in during 2020, a lot of decisions were, like, involved and whatnot. But I knew that Delaware State was going to be one of my main schools, other than, of course, Bowie and Morgan, because Lincoln, of course, was even closer. I'm like, I don't want to go too far yet. But then something was in my spirit because of, like, my church. I just felt like I needed to go farther just so that I could find myself and, like, like, understand what exactly I wanted within myself. I don't think I answered the question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
you hear me
can.
now? First of all, thank the committee for asking me to come back and all my panelists here. I'm the old fat guy in the room, and I'm always the oldest panelist member, so I guess I got to give you a little perspective of going to school in Virginia in the 1980s. So I graduated from Weaver High School out of Hartford, Connecticut in 1980, and I said, I was a scholar athlete. I wanted to go to the NFL, but those dreams, that's another story for another day. But I said, okay, I'm smart enough to go to school. I got a skill set. I play football. Now I got to select a school. Well, my final decision was University of Maine, Black Bears in Orono, or Virginia State. Now, back in the 80s, if you don't realize, University of Maine in Orono, there were no sisters at that university. Let me say that again. If you know Weaver High School, that's in Hartford, Connecticut, that is 99.99 African American. Okay? Now, when I went to be recruited up at University of Maine, Black Bear, there were no women, black women that look like you sisters in this room. I go to Virginia State, total different scenario. Total different scenario. My mother and my father said, I said, Mom, Dad, I'm coming here. Plus, on top of that, it's also about getting my education paid for. All right? One of the things when I do these panels, I talk about paying for education because you got to have a plan. And the first year coming out of school, you get all these scholarships. The second and third, in my case, fourth year, how do you pay for it? We all had to figure out how to pay for education. Education is not cheap, and its price is going up every day. And when you're an out-of-state student, you pay more money. That woman right there, please get her name, her address. She talks about FAFSA and scholarships. That's the most important room. Parents, grab her, tackle her, get all the information, because she's the most important person in this room, because how do you pay for education, right? They may be paying off student loans. I'm done, but I'm helping my son go to grad school. That's more money. So how do you do that? So I'm not going to go any further because I could be here all day on that one topic, but I want to share the mic. But have a plan of how do you get scholarships, not just your first year, your second and your third year until you graduate. All right? How do you pay for school? That's important. We can talk about, we all have very commonalities here, our experiences being at HBCUs, but when you talk about paying for an HBCU, you have the Black Ivies, understand who they are, some of these A&T people, some of these Aggie folks, and then you got the next tier, because you got the private HBCUs, there's these Spelmans, not cheap. Then you have the public HBCUs like a Virginia State, but that's not cheap either. So you got to figure out, especially if you're coming from Massachusetts to go into Virginia, how do you pay for that? For 4 years, in my case, 5 years, all right? So think about that. Have a plan to pay for school.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Y'all good? All right. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't want to go to college at first. That wasn't my decision. So I give a lot of respect to our Black women. If I didn't have a woman at the time, I think I would have just went to maybe did a trade school. I was really good with my hands. I was good at building things, building computers. I built robots for fun. So it was kind of like, I think school was not really for me. But when I was exposed to what her mom knew, graduating as a mechanical engineer, I was like, all right, I guess I'll give college a chance. And I took a little tour, and I ran into our chancellor on our tour, and he was an alpha. I knew nothing about Greek life, though. I knew nothing about Greek life. But the way he just carried himself, I was like, dang, this man is sharp. And one day, if I want to have a great life, great woman, great car, money, I got to look like this man. So honestly, the dream started from that past partner, then getting on campus, meeting an alpha, and from there, that's where college just became honestly a thing for me. So for you young men, you young ladies who really don't have a passion for college, really tap into somebody who went and just ask them the realest questions, yo, what you think about it? Did you really want to do this? If you didn't want to do this, let me know, so that way I know how to handle my situation. But if you did want to do this, guide me through it, because I personally don't know how to. So that's just the honest answer. I don't have any other answer.
We love that.
Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here with you all. I echo much of the sentiments that has already been shared from our panelists. For me, I got to Clark Atlanta University as a result of my mom not attending an HBCU. And so because she went to a predominantly white institution, she wanted me to experience what it meant to be in a space with those that felt like home. And so for me, I'm originally from Florida. Once again, Clark Atlanta is in Atlanta, Georgia. And so as a result of that, my mom's lack of exploration led me to my HBCU experience. In terms of funding, I was actually blessed to receive a full ride scholarship from Clark Atlanta University. And so, yes, man, let's give it up for the scholarship committee. And so that's a beautiful thing to have your community to invest into your academic future and trajectory. And so I would say that while it is, FAFSA and all of those scholarships that will be at your disposal at graduation and prior to graduation. Know that HBCUs do have scholarship funding available, not only for your academics, but for other things such as being a part of the band, being a student leader, being involved. You'll be surprised where money will come from.
So we're now going to break it up. We're going to ask individual panel members some questions. We'll do about 4 questions, and then we'll go back to an all-group question. So Kyle,
Uh-oh.
HBCUs are known for their lifelong networks. What are some of the postgraduate benefits that are available to you since attending your HBCU?
Wow. Okay. So 1980, I'm on campus, August 15th, going there for football practice. I meet a gentleman. I'm a tight end. I meet a gentleman. He came from Korea, and he's African American. We have the same position, tight end. He ends up being my best friend. He's a military brat, so he's lived all over the world. He is a member of ROTC program. His father was in the military. He is now a retired Fulbright colonel, and he was at the Pentagon when 9/11 hit. He's a military intelligence. That's my best friend. That is my son's godfather. And because of that experience being at HBCU, I went to Korea, I went to Belgium, and I've been to Africa because of our friendship from establishing from 1980. And a matter of fact, he throws a serious Super Bowl party down in Virginia. So February 9th, I'll be down in Virginia, Dumfries, Virginia, at his house partying.
All right now.
So if you look about that relationship, that friendship, this is lifelong friendship that you established at an HBCU. And because of him, I traveled the world. And and he was messing with me because I was messing with him because this is a true story. When we were in Belgium, we were off base. We were walking around, and the soldiers we were in plain clothes, and they were saluting him. So I started saluting them back. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, they saluting you, right? They saluting me too." They thought I was in the military because I was in some kind of decent shape, but another story.
So the next question is for Taylor. How did you cope with being away from your family and hometown while attending your HBCU? In what ways did you find support for your specific needs at your HBCU?
Oh, this is a good question for me because the first semester, I cried every day. I cried every day. I missed my family. I think I was way in above my head when I was like, oh, yes, I want to go all the way down to North Carolina. Like, I was trying to really fulfill my wants and needs without really thinking about the actual bigger picture here. Like, I am in North Carolina now by myself. I am fresh of 18, okay? Never lived outside of my mom's house. And now I am now living on a campus with a bunch of other people I don't know. So that really hit me hard. The way I made it through a lot of that was a lot of time to myself. It's okay to have time to yourself. Don't feel like when you first get there, you need to jump into friend groups, you need to jump into organizations, you need to jump into this, because it's gonna be overwhelming. So what I first did, and I didn't have a plan. I just went there. I was going in for criminal justice at the time because my mom is in criminal justice. So I was like, why not? You know what I'm saying? But that wasn't my passion. So I'm going to these criminal justice, things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, bore me to death because that's not what I like to do. And it wasn't until I had actually my roommate, her name is Bree, still my friend to this day. She was in mass communications at the time, so she was behind the camera. She liked to be behind the camera, and she was going to all of these events. She was going to parties. She was hanging out in ESPN's truck. I'm like, where are you at, and what are you doing? And she was like, girl, I'm doing mass communications, and, we are in charge of all of the events that are going on here, all the programs that they have. We film them, we do this, we get free public access. And that, to me, sounded like a great deal. Like, you can be going to all the college parties, you can be going to all the college events, you can be meeting all of these people. So that's kind of what threw me into that. And so when you find your passion, and it's not hard, it doesn't hurt to ask either, because a lot of people go into college and they don't even know what they want to do or what direction they're trying to take. So, ask the questions first, figure out what you want to do, and time goes fast. I'll never forget this when somebody told me, oh, these 4 years are going to go by real fast. I was like, this is my second day on campus. Like, what are you talking about? And when I blinked my eyes, I promise you not, it was sophomore year, junior year, senior year, graduation, bye-bye, you know? So make sure you utilize that time wisely, and you make sure that you build solid connections first, but don't rush. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, look at all these cool kids hanging out in the caf. Oh my gosh, look at all, you know them saying, all these people. Make sure you have a direction where you want to go, because that's going to lead you to fulfilling your success while you're there. And it's going to take away, when you find people who also are like-minded individuals as you, you're not going to feel as lonely. You're not going to feel like you're in competition with people. You know what I'm saying? If you like media like me, and I'm hanging out with the cheerleaders, and I'm hanging out going to parties and stuff like that, how is that benefiting me any? None. But when I got into a circle around other like-minded media individuals, I was working for the #1 hip-hop radio station out there. I was hanging out with the celebrities. I think I met City Girls. I think I met.
Okay.
Yeah. Change that scenery up real quick and see what it does to your life. You know, I did a whole bunch of things that I would never have done if I didn't find out who I was first, core first, and then, you know, attract. And it brings out that.
Thank you. Next question is for Mark. What is campus life like at your HBCU?
Okay, that's a loaded question.
And please remind us of which HBCU you attended, please.
Oh, I don't have any issue doing that. I went to the illustrious North Carolina A&T State University, the largest HBCU in the world. Just putting that out there. So campus life, at first it can be kind of overwhelming. So at the beginning of every school year, they have a student activities and organizations fair. We can learn about all of the organizations, all of the extracurricular activities. They have so many different clubs that you can join, from recycling to a bunch of other civic service organizations. You learn about the different leadership opportunities that are available. You can be part of the student senate. I did it for like a week or two because I like dressing up and feeling important, but I didn't like going to the meetings, so they kind of dropped me. But I did it. I tried it, just being honest. But outside of that, you also have the party lifestyle, but it's very important to remember the purpose for which you are going to school. Like, yes, go, have fun, make memories, but you're also there to get an education. So I had some friends who started off freshman year, and then that first semester ended, came back in January, and I'm like, where's so-and-so? Where's so-and-so? Because you can't get a degree in partying, so I want to waste that money on just having fun. So I would encourage you, as you're thinking about different organizations, different activities, be open-minded, be willing to think outside of the box, be willing to connect with people that probably don't think like you, even though many of you will look the same, but you still have different perspectives. Also, keep in mind that you have 4 years, ideally, most of us finish in 4 years. Take the time to think about how you could possibly progress an organization. So I was part of the Sociology and Social Work Society. I was Mr. Sociology and Social Work, so I was in charge of community service. So I was able to partner with Boys and Girls Club of Greensboro. I did work for, I can't remember the other organizations. I was also part of the Pep Squad because I liked dancing, and I liked being near some of the ladies. So that got me a little close, you know. But the community service was the part that I found that I was so passionate about, and that really helped me find my purpose. And I ended up changing my major from journalism to social work because I joined I was a journalism major at first, and I like talking, as you can tell, so I still do it. But because I was able to connect with other people in other organizations, I found out about other majors, other degree programs, and connected with all these professionals. I was able to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, what I want to do with my career. So it's a lot out there. Take your time. Be open-minded.
Thank you. Next question is from my friend Gerson. Pass the mic down. Gerson, what makes the HBCU experience different from what you might consider at a PWI? And a PWI is a predominantly white institution. I attended a PWI, University of Massachusetts, Amherst, some of the colleges in this area, just to give some perspective.
I'm gonna start with financial aid. There's no financial aid at HBCUs, y'all. Don't let them lie to you. Make sure you work on scholarships. Make sure you work on there is financial aid. Don't let me lie like that. But yeah, it's very, very, very very minor. PWIs, you can get full rides just for being an African American. I mean, not full rides. You can get a scholarship for being African American. There's just so many other opportunities you can get at PWIs. But what I really do like about a HBCU is the support, the community, the parties, the style. Like fashion is beautiful out there. Like for example, her sweater. Do you mind standing up and modeling?
All right,
for
Mark.
like 2 seconds.
All right, everybody,
Like this?
show your para. Everybody stand up. Show your school spirit.
Show
Come
that
on, let's
sweater.
see.
You gotta show the hoodie.
Oh, yeah, the hoodie. Yeah, see?
Like you just have so many different styles at HBCUs. You know, I feel like if you are into art, you're gonna love it at HBCU. And business too. You know, like you find a lot of people who want to start a business at a HBCU. I started my IT support business and was able to expand to 4 different universities with one person under me, and we was making good money. But like you know that drive, that support, all that stuff. You know, I don't think I would have ever had that at a PWI. I went to a white high school, so for me, I feel like you know I can vouch for that. You know, I was not supported at my high school. I felt like I couldn't really be myself, and there was no style. I saw people walking in with pajama pants on. I'm like, yo, like, where your sneakers at? Where your slim pants? You know what I'm saying? But overall, though, you know, I would say the difference is really like it just depends on how you make it. But I just love fashion, and I feel like that was the biggest thing that I saw that was a difference.
I need the bio.
While we wait, A&T.
Good morning.
And I was gonna say A&T is the best. Y'all choose A&T. We got multiple different other people here. Morehouse just got here, but
So speaking, I want to recognize Mr. Reverend Marcus T. McCullough. He had a class he was teaching this morning, and so thank you for coming in today and joining us, our panel. I'll let you get situated. I won't throw the hot mic to you. So this is going to be an all-panel question again. And so we'll start with Mr. Reverend Talon, and we'll work the mic back down. It is often said that the HBCU experience is not the real world experience. How would you respond to this statement? Do you agree or disagree, and why?
So I believe just being black and navigating the white world in general is real out here for us. Regardless on what organization or institution you connect yourself to, it's hard out here just being black in your blackness or as a person of color. And so I want to begin by saying that, but I also want to say that I believe that it allowed me to see the diversity amongst our blackness. And although it was not, although I did not have, let's just say, majority white professors, I did have a few white professors. And then also matriculating in a city like Atlanta, very diverse. You're thrusted into an urban city. And so as a result of that, you get a chance to see the importance of the civil rights movement and the struggle and all of that, which further motivates your work as a scholar in trying to really make it practical beyond the classroom. And so for me, I do think that the HBCU experience is the real world, but I think that it also prepares you to go outside of the real world. I mean, outside of the world that you created at your HBCU to make real world impact.
Thank you. Gerson? Same question.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Sure. It is often said that the HBCU experience is not the real world experience. How would you respond to that statement? Do you agree or disagree, and why?
I would say to a certain extent, I can agree. When I first moved to Massachusetts from North Carolina to work for Amazon Robotics, it was a culture shock for me. I was the only black man a part of my team. So, like, when I first walked in, everybody was like, your last name Sanchez? I'm Afro-Latino, y'all. So, like, you know, it goes both ways. So I walk in, and it's just like, okay, I wasn't expecting to see you. And when I went to, you know, an HBCU, I didn't get that. I just walked on campus, and I was welcomed. So just being exposed to the real world after doing 5 years at HBCU, I feel like I wasn't fully prepared to make that transition, and I wasn't really aware of how serious, how serious. Actually, let me change my words up a little bit, because I would just say make sure that dang, it was a certain word I was gonna use, y'all. I'm so sorry. Let's just go ahead and pass that and say no. I don't think I was fully prepared, but yeah, let's just leave it there.
Kyle?
Okay. There was two, when you asked that question, I was going to go down, I'm torn between two paths. It does prepare you for the real world. There are similarities. One of the things that the university does is when you get into your major, they talk about the competitiveness that you have to go out and be ready. You have to be ready to compete at levels for jobs, right? You're there to get an education, to get a job. So there's different organizations, there are different clubs, and there are internships that prepare you for your area of expertise, your area of study. So in that regard, I think there is some commonality that prepares you for life after. Now, there is another similarity that I'm going to be crystal clear. Whatever's happening in society, it happens at our universities. And there's positive and negative, all right? What's going on, there are shootings on universities' campuses, okay? And there's shootings on HBCU campuses, there's shootings on PWI campuses. Now, the PWIs may have a good way to kind of keep those things under suppression and not get into the news media, but it happens, and because it happens in our society. So there are society norms that affects HBCUs and affects PWIs. You just got to make sure that you're in the right place at the right time to get your education, and that you're pursuing the right avenues. So it can happen here in Springfield, right? Let's be real, depending on where you live, the crime rates may be higher in other areas than where you live and we may not live. So that is a similarity. And I was like, do I share that? I'm like, I'm being transparent here.
Absolutely. That's what we want, honesty.
So moms and dads understand that, when you send your babies off, they got to be ready. Just like when you send them off to high school. When you guys know the crazy guys on campus. So what happens is, some of our institutions are in the inner city. Some of our institutions are in a college kind of, setting where you have security and stuff like that. All the universities nationwide, PWI, HBCUs, looking at college safety. What are the ways you can increase college safety? The mass shootings years ago, I'm kind of dating myself, Kent University years ago. That's when mass shootings started happening. So you got to realize what happens out there. But you can walk down the street here on Broad Street or State Street and get popped, right? So you got to realize that too. So I just wanted to be transparent to parents and let you guys know when you get there, you got to be involved in the right things. You got to make sure you make the right choices, because what happens is you have, especially on HBCU campuses, you have influences that come onto campus for parties, for activities, homecomings. I've been going to my homecoming for 30 years. Well, some homecomings this past year had shootings. And some homecomings this year were put on suspension because of the risk factor. So parents, students, understand that if you see something, say something. And that's real. So I'm going to stop it there. I don't want to be too negative and scare everybody, but I just
No,
want
we
be
need to
real.
hear the honesty of what happens on campuses. Absolutely. Ms. Dashe,
So
do you need me to repeat the question?
Nah, I think I got the
Okay.
question. So I was gonna say something similar, because me being kind of like the youngest panelist here and having to recently graduate in 2024, openly, I have experienced, the mass shootings that have happened, the constant wondering of If I'm being safe, how do I get my roommates to be safe or someone in my hall to be safe? So my school, not recently in some sense, but they have been constantly doing it for our females on campus, even the males that they want to do it. There is the self-defense trainings, how to, if you're put in a situation, what do you do? If you are, not sober, because of course when you go to college, people do experiment and whatnot, don't go behind the wheel. If you are tired, don't go behind the wheel. If you need to, call an Uber. If you have a friend that you know is fully rested and is not going to do anything, go with that said person. Because there's also accidents that can happen. So I would say, like, HBCU life, I feel like, is a real world stance just because of the fact that a, HBCU or like a PWI, it's a real life situation, but we're just like in a smaller or like semi bigger, I guess like ecosystem in some sense.
Absolutely. Miss Alexandra?
Um, I feel like when you think about going into the real world, you have to understand that you have to know yourself, and you have to be able to like be okay with who you are. Growing up, I went to predominantly white schools, and that was the one thing I didn't really know. I didn't know who I was. So going to Spelman and like being around other like women who were like minded, but not like minded like me, like we had similar experiences. However, you get to share those experiences with each other and you talk about it. And your freshman year, you take a African diaspora of the world class, and it's like a requirement for all freshmen. And I remember like being in that class, and we were learning so much history about that I had no idea, because like I said, I went to school with all white people. I didn't know anything about my culture growing up as much as I should have. In that class, like opened my eyes to that. And it's like in those classes, and everyone says, oh, I don't want to go to Spelman because it's all girls. That was the best part about it, because you were so similar. But like going to school growing up, I didn't really have like competition when it came to like black girls like me, because I was in the honors classes, the AP classes, and I was the only one. And so you go to Spelman and you're like in a classroom full of girls who are just like you. They took the honors classes, they took the AP classes. You have to find your own identity within that. And that was like really big for me. So when I went out into the real world, I was able to be okay because I knew who I was. And I feel like that was really important.
Can you restate the question?
Sure. Let me find it on my sheet.
Make sure I touch on all the good parts.
It is often said that HBCU experience is not a real world experience. How would you respond to that statement? Do you agree, disagree, and why?
Well, I would agree to disagree. One, because judging from my experience, we all have different experiences, so you may have to take what you can from each of us. But for my experience, when I was going to school from K through 12, in Springfield, in Massachusetts in general, they will make you feel like you are the problem. I would just say that. A lot of the times when we are just growing up, how we are culturally, it could be looked at as wrong, as bad, as this or that have you. So it could bring you into some places where you start to believe it and you start to act as such. And so when you go to an HBCU and you're not only surrounded by people that are just like you, and also like-minded as you, but they also share experiences where it's like they also educate you as well at HBCUs. They have courses where they teach you our history and what it really means to be black and brown people. And that opened my eyes up a lot. They have psychology classes, they have black history classes, they even have like all kinds of courses where you can learn your history. So when I tell you, when I left college and I came back here, Springfield, Massachusetts, and those same people that made me feel growing up that I was less than, that I was not capable, that I was not beautiful, that I was not smart, what have you. I was able to register that in a different way where I know who I am as a black woman, I know who you are as whoever I'm talking to, and I know what you're trying to do here, and it's not going to work. It's put me in positions where I have confidently stood in rooms as the only black woman. You know what I'm saying? And I mean,
All right now.
the type of job that I have, I'm in the room with mayors. I'm in the room with city
Right.
councilors. I'm in the room with senators. I'm in the room with a bunch of people that I have never in my life thought I'd ever be in a room with, because I was told growing up that I was not capable, that I was told that I was growing up that I was not, just able to do those things that these people are doing. And I'm gonna tell you something, if they watching, I hope not, but,
And if they are,
but, you can stand in a room with those people just like I can. They are no different, and they will tell you they are very. I can say that I have not had any bad experiences, but they will make you feel. If you give them the same energy that they're giving you, they will accept you. They will be like, okay, cool, she got something to offer, but you have to show that. You have to always be 10 toes down on who you are, and you cannot let anybody tell you any different. And it doesn't matter if you're coming from an all-black college, because I'm gonna tell you something. When for 4 years straight, couldn't tell me nothing about my black people. I'm telling you that. And it got to a point where when I did have to rejoin into the white community and rejoin into different cultures, it did shock me at first. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, oh my gosh, like now, like where are my black sisters? Like I'm in a room with, what I'm saying? Imagine just being in a room, all white people, and you sitting here talking today. Will you be able to hold that confidence? Would you be able to stand up and be like, you know what, the same way I'm talking to you guys right now, I'll be able to talk to them like that. So make sure you're educated as well. Make sure you take the education that they have, this history that they have, because you know that they're trying to wipe it out. You know that they're trying to erase it. You know that they're trying to take it away from us.
talk about it.
So, so that we don't know the power that we truly hold. So that was the biggest takeaway for me, was regardless if I was, all my teachers were black, all my college friends were black, because that's how it was in Springfield as well. But at the end of the day, how are you going to carry yourself and make the voice and make the face and make, changes in your community based off of those experiences?
Thank you, Taylor. Mark.
So what I'll say is, I touched on this very briefly earlier, but growing up, again in the South, I was born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I say this very humbly, but growing up in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system, I often was a better writer than many of my white counterparts, and because I was humble and I grew up in the church, there were some times where I won the writing contest, and I thought, well, the teachers were saying, you already won the last one, so give it to so-and-so over here. And I would do it. And my mom was livid, for lack of a better word. And so it wasn't until those teachers, I had like one black teacher in like middle school, and then had a couple more in high school. And they helped me to start to learn my history and where I came from, because growing up in the school system, I got a whitewashed version of American history. And it wasn't until I got to college that I realized that American history is black history. And it wasn't until I got to college that I realized that, unfortunately, the depiction of Africans and black people all around the world was not limited to being poor, having limited education. In fact, before we were brought over here against our will, there were universities that were thriving. We were educated. We were creating deep origins deep down from things like country music, where they try to ice us out, but we actually created it, and we brought the banjo. Like, I learned about the history of us because, again, growing up without that perspective, I knew I was black and proud because of what my family said, but it wasn't until I got to college, to an HBCU, that I realized that what we contribute and what we bring to this world is undeniable. That's why people constantly try to silence us. So it took me getting that real world perspective from other people that had already gone through the struggles that I was about to go through in the real world. Being an assistant principal in a space at a school that I love, with all these black and brown scholars. When I go to other conferences, many of the other assistant principals and principals are white. But again, I can stand, as they say, 10 toes down on business, speak confidently as a black man, knowing that I belong here. And I'm here to show other men and women of color that you belong here too, just because of who you are, not because of the color of your skin. But I didn't get that confidence and that grounding and that foundation until I went to HBCU. So again, my short answer is, it informed my perspective about the real world so that I can navigate in it and work to change it and dismantle those systems of oppression.
Thank you, Mark. And we're going to end with this question with Reverend Marcus McCullum.
Hello, thank you.
Do you need
Sorry.
me to repeat the question?
No,
Okay.
no, thank you. The HBCU experience is not a real world experience, and that's the point. That's the whole point. That's why you go, to get away from the quote unquote real world. And if I were talking to some of my theological colleagues at the end, we might have a conversation about, well, what is the real world anyway? The world that they have painted for us and that they've taught us to believe is real? Are we living in the matrix or are we living in reality? What is the real world anyway? But aside from that, for a later conversation, an HBCU experience is not a real world experience, and that's the point. If you want a real world experience, stay where you are, keep doing what you're doing, get up, go to work, go to school, make money for somebody else, learn about somebody else's history. That's fine. You are more than welcome to do that. If you want something that is not a real world that will make you better, go to an HBCU.
Thank you. So we're going to flip the script a little bit, and I'm going to turn to all of you because remember I had tasked you all with an opportunity to ask questions. So we're going to open the floor, and I know someone has a question. All right. I'm going to ask that you state your name, and then if you have a particular panelist that you'd like to ask the question to, you can direct it or indicate if you can direct it to all panelists, okay? Okay. And stand up because we'd like to know who you are. Stand up. There you go.
Get used to it.
That's it. Be accounted for. There you go.
So, good morning. My name is Asala, and I'm a junior at Central High School. Yeah. Yeah. So, I wanted to ask, what's your favorite thing about your college? For all of you, no censor.
All right. Let it rip. We're going to let it rip on this end.
All right. Favorite thing about my college? Well, let me just say it's Morehouse, and then the name speaks for itself.
All right
first
now.
Of all. Second of all, one of the best things about Morehouse was being in Atlanta. I'll save a lot of those stories for later, but being in Atlanta is a great place to go to college. I'll say a third thing that I loved about my college. Well, I love history. I love that part of it. But also there was such a diversity of people. And part of that is Atlanta, but part of it is also just the school. And like many panelists have already said, the richness of Black identity was on full display. And so if I had to whittle down three things, that would be the most important to me.
Thank you. You want to stand up to ask your question? You're going to give me your name. You're going to stand up. Because we amongst family. All right. Here you go.
My name is Maisha. I was going to ask, how are the dorms? Like, how...
Who wants to? Reverend Taylor's going to take that question.
So I'd say it just really depends on your HBCU. How do I say this? You can't really be picky whenever it is, especially your first year, because your first year you're a freshman, and so you're getting first time housing. I mean, first time student housing, and so you're a first year student. So it may not be to your liking, but I will tell you that during your first year, despite what your living quarters may be, you're not even going to be in your dorm that much because of the connections you're going to make. You know, it's warm in the South if you decide to go down South, and so we're outside, and so I would say don't be so focused on your residential situation that you miss out on the opportunity to really build connections. As a matter of fact, I got a story. I have always lived in a room by myself. I've always just operated that way, and I was preparing to go to HBCU, and they were like, "Oh, well, you need to have a roommate," and I was like, no way. I'm not getting a roommate. That rule was not made for me. And so what I did was I sent an email and I said, basically, I need accessibility accommodations. And, And they later found out that I didn't need any accommodation, so I ended up having a roommate. But I ended up getting cool. Yeah, y'all can laugh. It's okay.
Oh no, I know that.
Y'all
trick.
lied too. So ended up going to getting cool with the residential assistance office, and as a result of getting good with them, I ended up getting my own room towards the end of my freshman year. And so that's what I would say about that. A lot of HBCUs are dealing with housing shortages as well, and so just be on top of it. Make that a priority at the beginning of your experience. And also, my sister, you asked what is the best part of an HBCU experience? Fried chicken Wednesdays. Am I right about it? Yeah, fried chicken. No, fried fish Fridays and fried chicken Wednesdays. Those are the days. And also, I would also say in Atlanta, you know, we are surrounded with 4 HBCUs: Clark Atlanta University, Spelman College, Morehouse College, and Morris Brown, and as well as Morehouse School of Medicine. So you have that all in the same AUC consortium, and we have this thing called the Promenade. And the Promenade is basically like this interconnecting street that connects all the colleges to the library. And so spending time on the Promenade, once again, late nights, early mornings on the Promenade was also a great experience at Clark Atlanta University.
Thank you. So, what I'd like to do now before we take more questions, because there's a lot of fraternities and sororities in the room. So I would like for anyone who is representing one of the fraternities and sororities, and I apologize, I am not a member, but I do have 11 I have 11 aunts and uncles, and all 5 of my uncles are members of Omega Psi Phi. So when we have family reunion pictures, they're all in the back throwing up their signs. So, are all of our panelists a member of a fraternity or sorority? Okay. Who's a member of a fraternity or sorority? Can you raise your hand? I'm going to ask that each of you speak about your experience, and then if anybody has any questions, we'll follow up with questions. Sound like a plan? Okay.
Yes, I am a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, 11119.
00006.
Yeah. So we're the first fraternity founded for persons of African descent. We were founded at Cornell University in 1906, December 4th. By 7 distinguished jewels. What we call them jewels are founders, standing under the aims of manly deeds, scholarship, and love for all mankind. And as a result of that, we just celebrated one of our most infamous members, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And so as a result of that, our fraternity speaks for itself. But for me, I actually had a friend whose father was not a part of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, but through his experiences in life, came across men of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And he told me, it was like, if you ever get an opportunity to pledge Alpha, make sure you take that opportunity. And I had an opportunity to pledge Alpha Phi Alpha while I was at Clark, and it changed my life, truly. Not only because of the brotherhood, not only because of the moral values that they instilled, but more importantly, I'm still making change with my community now through the Brothers of Theta Iota Lambda chapter now. So for me, being a part of the Divine Nine, and I know we're living in a culture now where so many people are denouncing and not wanting to be affiliated, but you can be Christian and Greek.
Hello.
And so it's just so important that we don't allow our blackness to be tainted as a result of I would say white theology. There we go.
Now.
Trying to be nice.
No need.
Thank you, brother. See, that's why you got to be a part of it. Because that's another thing too. When you're part of these organizations, you always have a brother or sister, no matter where you may go. It's far and large, and so I would definitely tell everybody to take advantage of that.
So I'm going to ask if you represent alphas. That I want to try to get a representation of each particular fraternity or sorority. So if there's another type of fraternity or sorority you represent, you want to say the name of that organization and then your experience.
I'll proudly say that I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. We are, we are called the Noops on campus. And we are called the Pretty Boys on campus. We are the diversified. We are the classified. And we are the academic. The Alphas think they're the strongest academics. Kappas are right there with them. We have Kappas that are very influential in society, and we play sports. We are on political campaigns. The next black president of the United States could be a Kappa man.
Right now.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Hakeem Jeffries is a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
Hey, all right. And, you
And
know who
with,
Hakeem
with
Jeffries
our
is,
fraternities, with our fraternities, we the only members, we the only part of the Divine Nine who doesn't have honorary membership. You have to come through Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity. You may have all these other fraternities claiming big brothers like Martin Luther King,
Friendly, friendly.
Shaquille O'Neal. Okay, we're gonna talk about that offline. Martin Luther King plays. Okay, yeah, right. So, did he? Okay, good, good. Clear it up because they will claim. So, this what happens is very competitive, but when you're at the undergraduate level, it's very competitive because we all believe in our colors, we all believe in our pride, we all stand for the. But as you graduate and become a member of the alumni, we all stand for the same thing: service, brotherhood, and fellowship. So basically, we all have the same thing. We just wear it in different colors because basically you want to identify with a fraternity that kind of identifies with who you are. Your own personalities, your own likes, because we all have outstanding members, we all have crazy members, we all have members who uplift our communities on various levels. I was fortunate enough to have an experience in college where I was an athlete first, and then I became in a fraternity. So we talk about the cool guys. I guess I was one of the cool guys. I don't claim that because I ain't had no money. I was one of the broke cool guys. I had to work for a living, and my parents had to work for a living to get me through school. So, but that's one of the things. So it's a lifelong experience. When I talked about my college roommate, he ended up being my dean of pledgees. So we have lifelong memberships and we have lifelong friendships that take you forever. So member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated since fall of '84. Number 4, Honcho, the baddest one in the room. No, last year I had my cane. This year I didn't bring my cane. Last year I had my cane. I didn't want to step, but I could sure do a good shimmy for old man.
Okay. I'm going to ask my sisters of the AKA, can you speak, both of you, on your experience?
Yep. So I recently crossed back in April to Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I crossed the Delta Lambda chapter, so I am number 44. Altogether, there are 57 of us. So it's not a big chapter, but it was the fact that personally, because I am still in my beginning season, I'm still learning. So you always need to be teachable. Personally, with my experience, we had recently done a trip together for our first Founders Day. I'm just trying to think. There was a lot that happened. So seeing that we crossed in April, personally, we had to learn our names. Some people had history even way before we like crossed together because it was a whole process and whatnot. But we had came to an agreement as we were doing our progress that you guys leave your drama at the door. We need to learn how to build our relationships now, cut whatever ties that you had negative-wise with each other, because you can't build on loose foundation. We need a stronger foundation in order for us to grow all together. So right now, all of us, we're very happy. A few of my sisters right now, they are graduating. Some of them are, am I yelling? Oh, sorry. A few of us are, like we're still talking to each other, so there's like no bad blood happening.
Okay, so I pledged grad chapter in 2019.
That's a different experience.
My
in
lovely
itself.
sorors over here, my line sisters, yes. So my dad was an Alpha in Springfield, so he pledged at UPenn. Um, so he kind of like, I grew up in that scene, like up until he passed away. So it was always like in me, and I always wanted to be an AK. When I was in school, I went and studied abroad when they were doing a line, so I wasn't able to do it. But I got the opportunity as a grad chapter in the grad chapter to do it, and it's like amazing because the one thing I missed about Spelman after I graduated was that sisterhood. Like even till this day, like we connect, and so having that sisterhood here and like the bond that we created in that pledging process is amazing and lifelong.
Is there anybody else on the panel? Okay. So many of our committee members are members of the Divine Nine, so I'm going to pass the mic down and have them speak about their experience because they are not always a part of the same organizations that's on the stage.
So we won't each individually talk about our experience, but because of timing, but I do want to say this. As you see us standing here, we are missing representation from every organization, but understand that we work together to address the upliftment of our people and people in general. So when we sit here at the table, it's not just that we went across and said, okay, are you D9, come sit at the table. It is that we are all, as organizations, committed to speak against social justice. When you were looking at the most recent election, I am very sure that you saw colors everywhere because we were out on the ground doing voter education, doing registration. It is a lifelong commitment, but it is a commitment for the good. And I don't mean to preach at you all, but the fun and games, the colors, the banter that we have amongst each other, who's the best, who's doing that, like that exists because we're siblings. It doesn't exist because there is hate in the heart of any. But if you do your research, from before the official civil rights movement until present day, these organizations were at the forefront of where we sit as a society right now and what they're trying in some spaces to undo. Anyone else?
And to piggyback, they sustained many of the HBCUs. When you look at the history of your Divine Nines, because that's what my grad work is on, is that they sustained. And so I'm also going to ask if we have parents or anybody in the audience, please stand, because I see somebody wearing an AKA shirt. So I'd like for everybody to see, can you please stand or wave your hand? Because I think it's important for us to see that we have members of our community. Look in the back of the room. We have members of our community. You'll often see that in parades we have. You'll see them marching. Ask questions. You go to church with many of these people. You work with many of them. Oftentimes they will be wearing their para, proud, showing their para. Ask questions, right? Get to know and say, hey, I'd like to know more about your organization or other organizations so that when you get to an HBCU or a PWI, you're not afraid to know what Divine Nine organization you want to connect with, all right? So we've concluded our panel discussion. First, I'd like to thank all of our panel. Can everybody give them a great round of applause?